right, so we continue then with laws of Yom Tov. And our big topic, so we're in chapter 4, and our big topic is preparing on Yom Tov for the next day. So part number 3, and it says, increases the amount of product with which one does the Melachah. Okay. There is an exception to the prohibition of performing Melachah for the post-Yom Tov benefit. Okay. The Gemara states in a tractate Beezrat 17a, a woman may fill the entire pot with meat even though she needs only one piece for Yom Tov. A baker may fill the cask of water and cook it even though he needs only one jug for Yom Tov. The reason these acts are permitted and is that preparing the large quantity involves the same action as preparing the small quantity. Cooking a pot that is full of meat, there is a place in a stove, or kindling a fire beneath it, requires the same act of cooking a pot containing one piece of meat. Similarly, filling the cask of water requires the same action as filling a jug. Since one is allowed to do the act for the sake of pertaining to the small amount, which will be needed for a Yom Tov, there is nothing wrong with adding the measure with which one does it, even though the excess will not be used until the next day. This is known as Ribui Bishurim, increasing the amount. Okay. It is permitted whether one will use the excess on the second day of Yom Tov or on a weekday. So, okay, there is a limitation to this dispensation, but let's, before we get to limitation, so let's try to see the basic rule. So, the general idea here, so if you're going to use exactly the same efforts, it's like in cooking things, so it is not a problem. So I guess in my mind the same efforts, for example, if you have these pieces of chicken, they're already all cut up, everything is ready, everything you have to do like put in a pot and on a stove, and it's going to cook. So for you it's exactly the same efforts, it's not hard, right? It does not take too much more extra time, there is no problem. Right, so that's what they say, because it's going to cook by itself. It's not like, especially now, gas stove or electric stove, right? It's not like we're doing something extra. There is no problem, okay? But of course there is reservations, as we're going to say. I see, but okay, maybe it's going to cook for same, like with the same effort for cooking. But if you need to prepare 30 use of 30 minutes more for preparation, of course there is a problem. Okay. So let's do from the beginning, and we're going to explain line by line. There is an exception to this prohibition on performing Melachah post Yom Tov benefit. So if what we said last time, if you planned for the next day for after Yom Tov, and even from one day to another, it is absolutely forbidden. One explanation, just to remind if somebody just joined us today. One reminder is that first day is biblical and second day is rabbinical in Yom Tov. Somebody in this group, I don't remember, was surprised about Rosh Hashanah. Right? It says clearly in Torah, so on the first Tishrei, have to sound the shofar. It did not say it's first and second day. Right? It's only first day. Okay, it doesn't matter. So first day is for sure is biblical, and second day is rabbinical, and it's not even rabbinical, it's tradition, as we said. It does not make any difference. The halacha is exactly the same as on the first day and the second day. Right? But since in some sense the second day is not of the same sanctity as the first one, so you cannot, so in some sense we know that it's actually the weekday. It's not, okay, we treat it as not a weekday, but we know it's a weekday, it's not holiday. Holiday is only one day. on a biblical level. So you're not allowed to cook on a holiday, on the first day, for the sake of second day, right? And 1 second, and for the second day. So when you start cooking 3 p.m., let's say, right, on the first day of Yom Tov, so for sure you're cooking for a second day, for sure. So you just finished meal 2 hours ago. Nobody's hungry. Who are you cooking for, right? And plus, there's no obligation to eat the third meal on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov, you're obligated to eat only 2 meals, right? So at night and during the day, that's it. So on Shabbos, we have obligation to eat 3 meals, but at Yom Tov, 2 meals. Okay. Continue. Okay. But if it is for example, a woman is going to cook at night or in the morning, right? So she woke up for 5 in the morning, let's say, right? And then she wants on Yom Tov to cook. There is no problem. So all of this, as we said, 1 piece of chicken or 20 pieces of chicken is exactly the same effort. If it's the same, it's not such a simple case. But let's say if it's exactly the same effort, everything was in the refrigerator. She just put from 1 container into her pot, so there is no problem. Add water and spices. I mean, it's exactly like she put these spices 1 time or 3 times. Irrelevant, right? So and it is technically all of the 20 pieces of chicken could be used for this day. There is no problem. So that's the case we're talking about. If it's too late in the day, close to the next day, who are you kidding? Continue. Gemara states in Beezrat 17a, a woman may fill the entire pot with meat, even though she need only 1 piece for Yom Tov. A baker may fill a cask of water and cook it, right? Okay, even though he needs only 1 jug. Okay, so he needs only 1 jug, but he can cook much more. Okay, because for him it's the same effort. So I guess if it's not big burden to carry this water from the well. So okay, if maybe 1 jug you would be able to carry in your hand if you need only 1 jug. Just trying to visualize the scenario, right? So it's there is no effort you can carry in your Shabbos clothing, in your Yom Tov clothing. But if now you say I have to carry 2 buckets, yeah, that's the problem. I'm not going to use my Shabbos clothing because it's very heavy. I might get dirty and stuff like that. So I would change or something. So that's a big deal. The reason these acts are permitted is that pertaining to a larger quantity involves the same. Preparing a large quantity involves the same action as preparing smaller quantities. So everything in his house. So to put on a fire water like 1 jug or 7 jugs, so it does not make any difference for him, right? So we're not talking about coming from well, but everything in his house. Okay, cooking a pot that is full of meat that is placed in a stove or kindled in the fire. Kindling is exactly the same. You need to start the fire, whether it's a huge pot or a small pot, or right, does not make any difference. Kindle is the same. 1 second. Requires the same act of cooking. A pot contains 1 piece, one piece of meat. Okay, meaning 1 piece or a full pot of full of meat. Similarly, filling cask of water requires the same action. Fill in the jug. So to simplify, he does not have to carry from far away. Let's say from the faucet, right? So to make it easy, since one is allowed to do an act for the sake of preparing the small amount, right, which will be needed for Yom Tov. There is nothing wrong adding to the measure for which one does it, even though the excess will be used for the next day. Of course, you have no right to have intention that it should be for the next day. You just cook, right? You cook, so it doesn't matter. So sometimes people trying to save money, especially For example, in some places where, like, not where I really from, but in different places, they have this gas and that does not come through the pipe, the city pipe, but they have like huge tanks, or like sometimes not such a big tanks. So they try to save on gas, right? Because it costs a lot of like to replace it or something, right? So they if they were going to open the gas, so they try to cook as much as possible. So which is intention is not for the next day, but just to use it efficiently. Okay, so this is known as increasing what? Increasing the measure, the amount. It is permitted whether one will use the excess of the second day on Yom Tov or on the weekend. So it's not exact. Again, you should not have intention when you're going to use it. You just cook because it is convenient and does not require many efforts. But I asked the question. I don't remember whom I did ask. Like for example, when I came from Rosh Hashanah, maybe ask my wife. I don't remember who else. So when I came from Rosh Hashanah home and we started 1 hour early in the show, I was exhausted. Like after we ate, like I was dead. Of course, I would learn Torah, but to say that I have energy now to start cooking, or if she would pray in like the full prayer, she would have the energy to start cooking. That's not realistic. You understand? So that's practical aspect of it.